Hey everybody, welcome to Office Hours. So why do you look so confused?
No, I was trying to check my light situation. But what's up, everybody? Office Hours. This is episode 17. Yeah, 17. Appreciating your fans and supporters. Nora, how you doing?
I'm good. I forgot that I had a window open, so I'm sorry if anyone heard that feedback. Yeah, I'm good. I had a terrible scare yesterday where I had an issue with my phone and they told me that I had lost all of my information.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, you have to factory reset. You're left with 24 contacts, all your photos, all your notes, like everything was gone. And oh my God, it was so scary because I realized, I think that I'm not that dependent on my phone, but like my whole life is on my phone. I was like, what do I do without my contacts?
You don't like have them in the cloud or something?
Like none of that. They were like, none of that works. There was no backup. It was like this. She was like, I don't know what happened. Anyways, long story short, we literally spent like half the day on the phone, me and Apple support. And at the end, I was like, all right, let's just do the reset. Like, I accept the loss. And she was like, wait, what's this thing over here? And the whole backup was there.
Oh, nice.
And so I know. She was like, I don't know what happened. Like, you must have backed it up. And I don't know. I don't understand the technology. But we went from thinking that all was lost to everything was there. So I'm very grateful today.
Yeah, it's definitely relieving. It's awesome.
Yeah. How you doing?
Doing all right. Just one day at a time. Hanging in there.
Yeah. So everybody, welcome to Office Hours. I'm NoraRahimian here with Big Stowe. We do Office Hours every first and third Tuesday of the month. And it's really a place where we answer questions from musicians and artists and people who are trying to make it in the music industry independently. We try to provide very practical, very useful, very like realistic information. So if you appreciate what we're doing, please take a minute to hit the subscribe button. But also please leave a comment, ask questions, let us know how we can further support you. Yeah, welcome. Let's jump into it. So today we're talking about fans. I see and hear so often artists who are frustrated. And so I know you hear this too. Oh, like I've been to shows where artists are like, why don't y'all clap for me? Man, y'all suck. And I'm like, if you're yelling at me, that's not that's not going to make me get more excited about your show.
Right.
And then when I am like a fan that's supportive and an artist ignores that to harp on those who aren't giving them that attention, then I'm like, well, what's the point of me supporting you if you treat me like shit?
Right.
And so that's what we're talking about today. Yeah, I know, Stowe, you've probably seen a lot of the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand the frustration in not having the support that you're looking for. Currently, all of us, want to be more popular, seen by more people, stuff like that. And even for myself, and this is something that I dealt with like in the early stages of my career as well. But once you understand the power in each individual fan, you understand that the minute that they're gone, you have nothing left. So what's the point of slam dunking those that aren't looking? Like there really is no energy in that, and there's no, I don't know, you're not gaining anything out of it. But when you show your fans that you appreciate their support, it just makes them more apt to come back later and to engage more often. And again, it's about building that connection and building trust. We talk about that all the time here. But if you're spending all your time, they're sleeping on me. I don't know how come I didn't get on this stage, and only a few people showed up. But it's like eventually some of you will again understand the power of each individual purchase. And again, especially now. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I even now I'm seeing that entitlement crop up, and it's like, fam, we're in a pandemic. I don't understand why artists are expecting this overwhelming support right now when everything is burning around us. So I just think appreciating those that are already around you, appreciating those that are chipping in their money, that are retweeting, liking, and whatnot, I think makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I see the most is artists not even taking the time to respond to fans that are complimenting your music.
Yeah.
And taking the time.
Hold on. Before we get into that, because I think it's important to break down some of the like I think we'll get into like what you should be doing and how you should be interacting with your fan. But you said that it doesn't serve a purpose, and I think it does serve a purpose. Like when artists treat, or like when artists get mad at their fans or blame the fans, I think that serves a really important psychological purpose. Because what it does is, instead of saying, maybe my music's not good enough, maybe my marketing strategy isn't good enough, maybe somewhere I need to do better, right? Rather than like churning inward, it externalizes the responsibility for your career. And so artists are essentially saying, I'm not where I want to be because of you. It's your fault. You as my fans. And so it creates this like psychological protection, right? You're projecting onto your audience. And so you don't have to take any responsibility for your career. And you don't have to, right? It allows you to like create this buffer. And I think that, so we have to acknowledge that that serves a purpose. And over and over and over again, and we've talked about it here on Office Hours, artists do things to self-sabotage. And this is one of the ways. This is one of the ways that they self-sabotage, is that by blaming fans, you're not looking internally at yourself. And you have to be honest about that. You have to get, are you really upset with your fans, or is this a way that you're avoiding any kind of responsibility or accountability on your own part? And so I think that's important, is that it does serve a purpose, even though it's not necessarily a positive or healthy one.
Right.
I think the other thing is, part of the reason why, especially independent or like earlier career artists feel this way, is we tend to think of success by numerical numbers. So you can have 100 solid fans, and those 100 solid fans are buying music and talking about you and streaming and doing all the right things. But you as an artist, if all you see is 100 fans, right? Capitalism, commercialism, like the industry tells you that that's not successful enough, right? Because we've been trained to look at quality over quantity. And I think that's the other thing, is if we're going to have this conversation about appreciating fans, there has to be an unlearning of what value and success is, and then replacing that with really evaluating and appreciating quality fans. And so if you only have 25 or 100 or whatever, like 1,000, that doesn't mean that you're not successful. It doesn't mean that you're doing well. It doesn't mean that you're not where you're supposed to be. It means that you just have a more engaged, solid core base. And that's actually a beautiful thing that you can leverage and use. But I think those two things are really important to address and talk about, is the self-sabotage and the projection, and then the definition of success and looking at like quality versus quantity.
Yeah, definitely. That even when you take the number side of the 100 fans and whatnot, that still can turn into the numbers that you're looking for, even financial wise. I talk about this all the time. If you get 100 fans to chip in $10, that's $1,000. Like, that's still, wait a minute, that's not right. My math is off. Wait, no, it is right. 100 fans, $10. Yeah, that's right. $1,000. So, and that's a lot. In the grander scheme of things and stuff like that. So, and you do want a more engaged fan base. You want them, genuinely congratulating you, and when you say when you're ready to release a product, they move and stuff like that. I don't know. Even as I look at some of the bigger acts, sometimes I genuinely wonder, do they really want millions of fans who aren't really that in tuned and sometimes are just reacting to something that they see and whatnot? So, and as Nora was saying, in terms of success, I had to change that for myself as well. Again, all of us want, money and to be seen and stuff like that. But I think when genuinely rooted in the work that you're doing in reality, it's like we really just want to be able to support ourselves and support our families and whatnot. Sure. And like for me, like anything extra or anything after that is extra. So I do think, and I think that's what a lot of artists genuinely want as well. So I think when you take it from that perspective, again, I keep going back to this. Every individual fan is important and deserves to be valued accordingly. They're not just a number.
So where do you think the relationship between artist and fan starts? Like, what's the starting point?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I think obviously it's just like the first time you see someone or something and whatnot. But I think, I don't know. I always think about this, I guess, in how I consume my music. I guess the first thing I do is hop to their social media and whatnot. And I think that kind of goes back to, if someone or a new fan that you've gained or earned or whatever heads over to your page and they just see you slam dunking all your fans and saying, I don't understand why no one's listening to me and stuff like that. Like, it's not that first interaction, it doesn't go well, because then they don't want to follow back, or they're like, wow, like I'm not. And we talked about this earlier with like a live performance. If you're on stage and people who have never met you before, never seen you before, or even just passing by, and you're getting upset about how many people, or like that there aren't enough fans and all this jazz, that's the first interaction with the people that are in
that
front
first
of you.
impression.
The first impression. Yeah, there we go. And you've thrown it out the window because you're mad that there aren't 100 people that you wouldn't be able to individually connect with anyway. We talked about this a few weeks ago as well. It's like, if you have a smaller crowd of people, that gives you a chance to intimately connect with almost every single person that's in the room. And for me, and obviously it's been a minute, but when I used to do smaller, like coffee house shows, or even when we had a big event planned and it didn't go as planned, just having those individual people in there, and you have the chance to kind of, I don't know, open up a bit more. It doesn't have to be this completely structured performance. You can talk. You can literally talk to your audience, joke around with them, build that genuine connection. And I promise you, that resonates with them a lot more than just, oh yeah, like everyone's in the crowd, say my name. Like that there's a loose connection there. It's there, but you can build more when you have less people, and you should take advantage of that.
I mean, I think we could do a whole episode on how to perform well.
Right.
And especially now virtually, like virtual performances, I think are a whole other level of difficulty. And I think definitely that's an episode for the future. But what you touch on, I think, is really important. It takes time to build that emotional connection with someone. So they might see you the first time and be like, oh, that's cool. And then see you again and go back to either a positive or negative interaction and memory of you. So it stacks up. And then they hear about you, so people it's the same thing when you meet someone. And sometimes you meet someone right away and you're like, oh, we're friends for life. But sometimes it takes a couple interactions to develop a relationship with someone. It's exactly the same thing. And so I think one of the mistakes that artists make is that they begin, for lack of a better word, courting fans when they're trying to get something in return. Right? I'm selling my album, so listen to we talk about this, right? They're making asks. And when the first thing you do when you meet me is you say, hi, listen to my music. Hi, do this thing. and we don't have any other interaction, as a fan, that's not going to bring me in, versus, hey, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And just taking time to build that relationship. And so I think actually you were tweeting about this the other day, how important patience is. And you need to be patient with your fans because they have to trust you and they have to get to know you. So let's get into what are some of the things that people should be doing. Like how in 2020, 2021, as we get into the new year, how can artists, and maybe we can try to be specific with this, what are specific things artists can do to show appreciation to fans?
My number one thing that I see the least is commenting back when a fan or supporter says something to you. I don't understand artists that just retweet all the mentions but don't say anything back. I only understand it if you've already hit a point where, like, you know, you have a lot of fans and you've dealt with the trolls and all that type of stuff. But
even then, but even then, if you don't respond to anybody, let's say you have like 76 million followers, awesome, whatever. So it's hard to keep up with that. There's a big difference between not responding to anybody and occasionally responding to a few people. Because even then, you're letting your audience know that I see you, I'm paying attention, I'm listening. And then what you do is when you do interact, they feel special because they're one of, so there's never an excuse not to respond to your fans, to ignore them. Sorry, continue, but I think that's an important one.
Right. Yeah, Nora nailed it, honestly. And so when you're commenting, it first off, like Nora said, it makes all your fans feel special, but it also kind of like in an algorithmic type way, it pushes up that tweet as well. The other thing is that when strangers visit your page and then like they kind of try to get their first impression of you, if all they see is a block of retweets and you saying almost nothing, they're less likely to follow because it's like, well, what's the actual point? There's actually nothing here for me. It's just a sounding board to prop up this artist. And so that's my most important one is responding to every person that mentions you or comments on a picture or whatever. Cut it out with the damn emojis. I'm tired of it.
No, and part of why I think that's so important is if I see you as an artist talk to someone else, I know that you're going to talk to me. And so that's going to encourage me to speak up, to share, you role model kind of the behavior that you expect. You train your audience in how you want them to act. And so if if you repost photos of your fans engaging with your content, for example, then now as a fan, I know that this is a reward that I can get, right? There's a psychological component. There's a feedback loop that we're going to enter. And so if you do it for other people, you'll do it for me, which then motivates me to do that. Versus if I know, oh, Stowe never responds, why am I going to talk to Stowe if I know that Stowe is going to ignore me? So that piece of it's important both for your relationship with that fan one-on-one, but it's also important for how your other fans watch and learn and set up that expectation. I think another way to appreciate fans is to recognize their actions in support of you. So if they're, if they're ordering off of your website, it's nothing to get on Twitter and be like, Stowe just bought my album. Thank you, Stowe, so much. I appreciate it so much. Or to get on Instagram and be like, hey, look at the newest purchase, to give people that kind of social validation. That's a valuable thing that people value. And so often where I see it end is people ask for a transaction, right? They ask their fans to do something, the fans do it, and then they never hear back from that artist again, right? Yep. So thinking about like in old school ways, like you would write a thank you note. And so in the modern equivalent, what is the thank you note? The thank you note is screenshots, it's tags, it's public acknowledgments, it's emails, and some of this you can automate, right?
Right.
Anytime someone purchases from your email, from your website, they get an automatic email that says thank you, right? And so it's honestly, I mean, I think it's so simple, but like it's such a simple thing to do, to just tell your fans thank you, and then you can. So maybe that's the most like simple thing you can do. If you want to get more complex, right, you can create like an exclusive club for your most engaged fans.
Right.
Right. Hey, I noticed you're in my DMs all the time. You're always responding to my stories. Thank you so much. Here's 10% off the next project.
Right.
Right. And you don't even have to promote that. You don't have to talk about that. But what you do with that one-on-one is start to build that buy-in. And then that fan will go talk about it. They'll do the thing, right? So you're also in this way building word of mouth. But so you can create like a tiered system of, hey, thank you. You've been a day one supporter. Here's a free this, or here's a discount to that. So these little things can have such a big impact in how your audience thinks about you, and then how they talk about you, because it's how they talk about you that's going to bring people in. Sorry, last point I'll make, and so then I want to hear what you have to say. Your biggest form of marketing is going to be how other people talk about you, right? More than any Facebook ad, more than any Instagram post, more than any Bandcamp link, how other people talk about you is going to be how you grow exponentially. And so if you treat your fans well, they're going to want to talk about that. And then they will bring other people to you. And that's how it grows. It's slow, it's steady, it takes patience. But what you're getting are engaged, real, organic, those hardcore fans that then are willing to take action on your behalf.
Right. Yeah. And just going back to Nora's point earlier, is like if someone random popped up on the street and was just like, hey, give me $10 and I'll give you this CD, you wouldn't, most of us wouldn't just let that happen. And it's the same when it comes to this music and the internet and stuff like that. A lot of artists out here, I feel like, are almost expecting or demanding that because I'm dope, I need your money. You should give me money. And it's like, I mean, you might be dope, but I don't even know that yet, because I mean, I may have heard a trailer or a song or something like that, but you still have to bridge that connection. And sometimes I feel like artists, they want the connection, but they are not willing to put in the work that is needed to establish that connection. And
there's no shortcuts to that.
Right. And we talk about it all the time, like patience. It requires patience. Because again, you are expecting these people to pay you so that you can make a profit, so that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So, I mean, and at least that's how I try to think of it sometimes. So it's like, at the absolute least, being thankful for the people that are supporting your artistic career. I feel like that should go for something. Now, obviously, I'm not saying like, yeah, like we have to praise the fans. Like without us, we're nothing. But I just feel so many artists are feel that they're entitled to a profit, feel that they're entitled to a certain place at the table or whatever, but just choosing to not even acknowledge their fans, let alone taking the time to build a connection to make new ones.
I mean, you are nothing without your fans as an artist, right? Like, especially if you're trying to get like mainstream popular, you're trying to be like a performing artist. You are only as strong as your fan base, and so you should treat them well.
Right.
And if you have a smaller fan base, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't know every single one of your fans and have a personal relationship with every single one of your fans. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about as much. Everyone's looking for shortcuts or whatever. Right. But maybe you build that into your marketing strategy. is making sure you check in with folks. Hey, thank you. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how's your dog? You know, whatever it might be. So that you start to, speaking of dogs, Push is like, what? You're talking about me? Made me lose my train of thought. But you should know your fans, and you should be able to build those one-on-one relationships. Any final words though before we wrap this one up?
No, for me, again, I think having patience, especially during this time, is so important. I do again believe that there are a lot of artists that just feel that they should be continuously getting paid simply because they put out good music. And it just doesn't work like that. And this is the last thing I'll kind of say on that note is we talk about this too, is thinking of yourself like a business. Look at any business out there. Now there's a lot of, shitty businesses out there, but at the end of the day, you're not going to trust a business you're not going to give your money to a business that you don't trust, period. Like, that's kind of the whole, I don't know. I feel like that's how most of us walk out here. Like, I'm not going to give my money to someone I don't trust. It's the same with this music. If your fans don't trust you, if the people that run into you or randomly pass by can't establish some form of trust, they're not going to stick around. And they're sure it's not going to pay. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of my final, I guess, thought on the whole appreciating your fans. Because if you treat them well, they will treat you well. It's literally that simple. What's up, Indio?
Yeah, it's customer service, right? Like, companies all have customer service, and fan appreciation is part of that. Y'all, thank you for hanging out with us today for Office Hours. If you haven't, please make sure you you subscribe, you leave a comment for us. If you have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments, and So and I will address them in a future episode. So and I are also going to be doing a workshop on November 30th at Den Music Fest. I will drop that in the chat. It'll also be in the comment section below. Den Music Fest is an independent hip hop festival. So November 29th is a full day of virtual performances from artists all around the world. If you're looking to find new artists, you're kind of sick and tired of the same old, the lineup is going to give you some gems. And then the 30th is a day of artist development sessions. So and I are teaching something about just practical things that all independent artists should know. And then there's a couple other really amazing people out there. So, and it's free. So make sure you sign up for that. We've got what, 2 more office hours before we take a break this year?
Yeah. I can't remember what next week is about. I've already forgotten.
I think it's goal setting. I think next.
Yeah, you're right.
2 weeks from. Yeah, I think it's goal setting. So yes. Thank you for hanging out with us. Please, as the year is wrapping up, I know people are tired, are exhausted. There's a lot going on, so please take care of yourself and each other. And for the umpteenth time this year, wear a mask, stay home, wash your hands, don't drink bleach, be responsible, because we're tired of this. And we only get through this by taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other. So thank you for hanging out. We'll see you in a couple of weeks on Office Hours.
Peace, guys.
Thanks, everyone.